Hello everyone and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today we have the follow-up from yesterday's Take My Town against Lowing, where he was the attacker and I was defending, and now I'm playing as Blue Dragons again against the French, and he's defending in Bravo while I attack. So the points values are switched this time around. He has 500 points, which we were both kind of complaining about by now as being far too few for this sort of wide zone against 800 points of attackers, but, well, nevertheless, here we are. For my own forces, we have an AH-1J, which I tend to find is a pretty valuable, support helicopter, fairly capable for anti-infantry and anti-IFV work. We have an OH-6 scout helicopter, two K-1s, and some infantry in various transports ranging from K-200s, KFV-25s, and we have a couple of scout KFV-90s as well as scout infantry in the KM-900. So I like to double up on these because they do have good optics. It's not great, but scout infantry and scout vehicles seems like, well, the same payment, double the intelligence, so we'll see if it actually works out that way. But I often find you can deposit these in one place, move the vehicles somewhere else, and it's relatively efficient for scouting. I know I should get into the habit of passive scouts only need one, but I don't know, two allows them to fight, I guess, should it come to it. So Lowing has positioned his own men, and we're starting to spread out. My intention is to attack along as broad a front as I can, just crossing the river directly with amphibious vehicles. I also believe I have a bomber off screen, so the way it was working for Take My Town today anyway was that bombing runs could commence, air support could commence as long as the attack had already commenced, so you can't just sit there bombing every aspect once you take down all of the air defense with something like a seaplane. So just, seaplane plus bomber should not equal win for a set piece battle like this, where it's, not the traditional sort of setup. So we have K200s and KFE-25 starting the run, and ATGMs are coming out, but this is okay. So one thing that I noticed when I was defending was I didn't really have enough points for copious amounts of resupply, and we can see that logistics vehicle moving across already, but, well, if K200s eat ATGMs to the face, it's much less of a problem than if my K1 tanks do that. So, yeah, a bit of a sacrificial. If something has to get shot at long range, it may as well be my 5-point transport, although I'd kind of been hoping to evacuate my infantry beforehand, so that was a little unfortunate, but sometimes you just do what you can. We're going to speed things up into 2 a little bit, as I am just sort of reconsidering for a little bit, and then, I don't know, I always get this sort of hesitancy or last-minute jitters before I do something in this game because of how many times it's worked out poorly. So, live and learn, and yes, I know I should have smoke for this, but I don't, and I'm just barely able to evac So-Chung-Su from these K200s before they take another volley of ATGMs, but I mean, think of the value of this. We have 6 ATGMs out, most will carry maybe 6 apiece, so that's half of the total, and I still have K200s to spare, although I guess not that many. In the meantime, my So-Chung-Su are just moving up. I want to see where stuff is, and my scouts, infantry, and vehicles are over on this side of the bridge. Bit of a miscalculation there, and it looks like there's some sort of tank opening up as more ATGMs also kill those cheap vehicles. And I'm sort of just, it's a bit of a calculated, what if I lose a little bit just to figure out where the defenses are? But we will speed up things a little bit here, going to speed 3. I'm trying to get So-Chung-Su into this town, kind of noticing that there's not a lot, of course as soon as I say that, they do take a couple shots, but noticing that there's not a lot that was preventing me from accessing this town, and if I'd been thinking about it, this would have been a perfect place for recon infantry to get nice, good scouting of this tree line and the other town as well. Potentially if I had something like the Verploeg 95 in the Dutch deck, which I don't, but if I had, that would have been pretty nice. So a TOE-2 does eat an ATGM to the face, which is a little bit ironic there, but I think at this point they were either out of ATGMs or very nearly so. KFV-90 scores the first kill for me, and I, to this day, don't quite know what that was. It looks like maybe an au noir, but again, very difficult to tell just from how quickly that thing was spotted and shot in the face. Another unit of So-Chung-Su are moving up, and I'm trying to bait out this Brennus a little bit. I don't quite remember what the plan was. I think I had a tank that was supposed to be moving forward, but oh yes, Peace Pheasant 1 coming in with bombing run, and this ends up being a bit of a poor decision. So yes, the bombs drop, but that Peace Pheasant very, very damaged. She actually does get out, and we do kill the Brennus, so that works, but the Vabs that I saw later on were just stunned, not killed. OH6 trying to get away from what's probably another Ol Noir, and yep, there it is, and we do actually make it away just because this was such a tentative move. In the meantime, my KM900s and my KFVs are crossing the river, depositing Susek Day, which are just 15.5 strength scout infantry, very cheap, very capable from what I've been able to find across this bridge, and, well, we're engaging Vabs at good cost, right? So they don't have to be expensive to get that done. In the meantime, however, my K1 takes the last couple shots trying to cross this bridge, but now there's no more incoming enemy ATGMs, and I think we've run them out of logistics as well. So, Jigsaw Swagiban, or at least that's the best I can do in terms of saying it, are moving up, and they should make pretty short work of those Vabs as the K1 secures these woods. Now that the Brennus is gone, he's pretty much unopposed for an armor-to-armor fight. We do see Vabs here, and that's going to be a quick shot and a quick kill, as the Jigsaw Swagiban do get into range and use those M67s to deliver death to our opponent's IFVs. And now we can really see that I think the split approach is working pretty well. I mean, yeah, we have the point advantage to begin with, but point advantage versus defender's advantage, and we're trying to do our best to flip that around. So I want to spot his stuff first, I want to shoot at his stuff first at this point, and see if we can flip things a little on their heads. So Jigsaw Swagiban are some of my favorite support infantry for Blue Dragons because of that 1400 meter range, 2 HE power. It can be very, very deadly and very hard to deal with. So Chang-Su now moving out of this block, trying to move around just to support the fight. But Chasseurs 85 taking the brunt of the K1, KFV 25 is also moving up using those autocannons. And this was a little bit too close, I think. We are going to start to take return fire if I'm not careful. But the Jigsaw Swagiban are relatively fragile infantry, so I wanted something supporting them, and I do get it. So the Chasseurs 85 are stunned, and are going to have a hard time defending against this push. So in the meantime, KFVs, unfortunately these Chasseurs wasted their element of surprise here, but the second round of anti-tank fire should be coming in pretty soon, and it will be devastating when it gets there. In the meantime, however, we get into the town that identifies the enemy infantry, ATGMs and Chasseurs both now taking fire from a K1, very nearly dead K1, but also from the KFVs, and this has been pretty efficient. So at this point in the match, my friend Lowing was rather unhappy, and I can definitely see why. So as far as amphibious crossings into Bravo from this side, which, you know, you should never actually have to do because this side's the one that would have control of Bravo anyway, well, it works kind of ish okay. So Jigsaw Swagiban shooting in at Chasseurs, and that's the other thing that makes these infantry so versatile. Those anti-tank, in theory, weapons can also fire at infantry targets, but it's going to be a little bit hard to sustain against Chasseurs and their AMX transports. However, Commandos Para taking an absolute brunt of the fire from an AH-1J helicopter, left in reserve until I was sure that the anti-air units for my opponent were relatively well handled. Also a K263 just endlessly shooting in as well. Almost 200 rounds, well, almost 300 rounds from that Vulcan cannon, just stunning and killing some Legion as the Commandos Para go down as well. So KFV-25 is moving up and around, just trying to see if there are any survivors. AH-1J moving up. Most of his weaponry is gone, and that is one of the problems with these guys. You do need to resupply relatively often, but, I mean, let's be honest, they generally don't live that long. So K1's in the woods, which is a little bit of a risky proposition, but they were going after those identified AMX-10s. We get the first shot, and we get the second shot. There it is, and now it looks like there might just be one or two things left. Unfortunately, one of them might be AA, as some of my units are destroyed, and Chasseurs, opening up at closer range than I would like against this damaged K1, might be able to get a kill if they're lucky, and I am not. So we have marched through most of the forest here. I think it's basically just the Chasseurs that are left. They do take down a K1, so at this point I was looking at the other one going, please don't die as well. I'd be very, very sad, but also kill these guys. And yeah, there it is. So that's all we've got for you today. That was the invasion of Zone Bravo for the newly created Take My Town challenge amongst me and my friends. Win and a win for me here in this one, both on defense and offense, but that was not true in the second test against my buddy Vimes. So we'll have that coming up for you guys real soon. Thank you all for hanging around.